All right. And we're back up in this piece. This is Plunk. This is the show where we celebrate not one, but two teams, one fantastic city, the city of Chicago. Go Ill, Chi-Town, if you will. I'm one of your hosts. I am Emilio Bucks, and this is my co-host.
I am Kristen, her teat.
What's going on, Kristen?
Not much. What's going on with you?
Oh, not much. Just got the kids to bed, and that is a task every single night. It's a task. You would think you wouldn't have to tell them to do the same things every single night, but you do. And you have to tell them to do the same things 5, 6, 7 times every night.
Nothing's changed.
Nothing, yeah, it's like
same thing every night.
nothing's changed. You got to do the same stuff, and then they put up a fuss and a fight, and we're always just on the verge of a nuclear explosion or something. Just 1 minute
But
everything is cool, the next is yelling and crying and screaming and smoke, and it's just
the parents. They're like, oh
man,
Lord.
Lord have mercy. Love my kids, of course.
Right? Yeah. The parents, you
Love
guys
my
always
kids.
love your kids,
Love my
but
kids. But geez, it is rough out here on parents. They say if parenting isn't hard, that means you're not doing a good job. So that's what
you're
I've
doing an
been.
excellent
So
job.
that's right. So I must be doing a hell of a job because
Pops
it's
of the year.
beyond hard. Beyond hard.
Well, and then you do have kids that are just going into like new phases in school, like
Yeah.
the junior high type, and then
Yep.
big kid school.
Yep.
So
Yep. And dealing with the attitudes and their moods, and
yeah,
I just say I appreciate my parents so much more now.
that's what I hear all parents say. Like, now I understand.
Now I understand what I put my own parents through. It drove them crazy.
Yeah, that's like that time my mother threw a broom at me and my brother.
She just had it.
Yes, her hair was backlight from the stove, because black folks always leave the
That's right, leave the stove. That means the kitchen's closed.
light. So that was the backdrop, and then her eye makeup had started running, and she had just had it. She was jabbing the we were like, whoa, wait.
What house was this on? Was this Devon?
In Country Club Hills. So the stairs were right there by the
right,
gate. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
She had it.
Yeah, we were like, woo, mommy doesn't do this.
Yo,
we ran to my
driving
father.
her up a wall.
Right. We were like, we need comfort from my father.
Right.
Yeah, so and now all of you guys are getting it back.
Yeah, for sure. Tenfold.
But once they get in the groove of school, hopefully, probably not.
No. But at least we don't have to feed them 3 times a day. Because they have lunch at school. They even have breakfast at school. So
that's right.
That alone, the dishes are just insane. Just constantly. But you remember how much we ate during the summer, right?
Yeah.
A loaf of bread a day.
And I was with me, I'd sit and eat a whole cheesecake.
Right.
Grilling hot dogs on the stove.
Right. Open flame. Indoor open flame.
Yeah. And now thinking back, people like, oof, your kids start doing that.
I know. Like, I will lose it. Like I don't trust them because of things that I did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know you are full of shit. Like,
Yeah.
I was full of shit.
Yeah. Every child is.
And they
From
all
a
think
young
they can,
age to
yeah.
preteen to teens.
Every kid thinks that they can outsmart their parents. And
Yep.
it's like, you're just looking at them like, are you serious? Like,
Like then you don't even do it as well as I did as a
you
child.
did right.
You can't even keep your lies straight like I could.
Right. Like, that's not even a reasonable lie. But I told some doozies back in my day too.
Yeah. Well, so our parents, and we were lying too then. And then like the kids, they like to stutter a lot through their stories. Uh,
Yeah.
I was like, you're saying nothing.
And making it up on the fly.
Right.
Antonio, what's up, brother? How you doing?
What's Antonio
Deb,
saying?
Deb,
Hey, Antonio.
Deb claims she
You
was
were
the perfect
here,
child.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
right.
I'm glad you said not after you were the
Yeah,
perfect child.
yeah.
There's no such
Ridiculous.
thing.
Ridiculous.
We all
We're
drove our
terrible.
parents crazy.
Yeah, for sure. For
And
sure.
now, like, if you're a parent now, you wonder, like, how did they make it through all the to 18? Like, you
And
dealt with
beyond
this,
18
or yeah,
even.
yeah,
Yeah.
like before maybe I did. You dealt with this so many years. How you like wonder how am I going? Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my hat's off. My hat's off to them. I appreciate them.
It's
And
just
one day my kids will
we'll
probably
appreciate
appreciate
you.
me.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I
this
hope
was
I'm just alive to see it and laugh at them.
right to see them going.
Yeah.
Probably your mother's laughing at you.
Yeah. I want to see them go through it.
How
Just
my
want to
parents
laugh.
laugh at Chris.
Yeah. Oh. Well,
So this
all right.
this
Let's
opening was an appreciation opening for all you parents out there.
yes. Here's
Emilio feels your pain.
hats off to all parents. Just had a doozy of an evening.
And now the doozy continues.
The doozy continues. I guess we should go right for the doozy.
Yeah, yeah.
The White Sox.
So tell me
Um,
how
their timeline looked something like, I think Saturday or so it was, Rick Hahn has 1 year left on his deal. Then it was like, oh, okay. So that means we got him for another year, right?
mhm.
Then it was like, oh, Jerry is talking about possibly moving the team, whether it's to the suburbs or to Nashville. What?
Nashville Sox.
The Nashville White Sox. Uh, and we'll come back to each one of these.
Mhm.
Um, and then we got word. Was it then? Then they got drubbed the game, like they lost like by 10 runs or something crazy. They got beat by a terrible team.
Yeah. Yep. And, and then
And
Tuesday, August 22nd.
is when it all hell broke loose.
I went back to look at the text messages to get the date when
And
I
it
was
was
like,
you who broke the news to me, because I was, as usual, in my world of parenting and whatnot, was away from the phone for about only an hour or so.
yeah.
And all hell broke loose around 4:30 Central Time on Tuesday, uh, culminating in the immediate dismissal,
Yes.
like now, not at the end of the year, now, get out. Kenny Williams and Rick Hahn. And then some happiness came sprinkled across White Sox Nation
Mm-hmm.
for a while, and it was short lived until we find out who they're talking about is shoe in for the job, and Chris Getz. So the guy who's been failing at developing players in our farm system was reportedly going to get a shot at running the whole show.
Yeah.
I don't quite understand how you are bad at your job. I understand why he would take the job. He probably
Oh, yeah.
thinks he's done a
Yeah.
good job
Yeah.
at his job, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know who's been developed that he's part of, but is this the Sox trying to follow other trends of the young, fresh face, and maybe they'll bring in an older, crusty face for the person that Chris gets to kind of bounce ideas off of?
Which is the gentleman that is talking about coming from Texas with him. I guess, and then you hear that Tony La Russa's been made a consultant.
Yes.
Then this is going south so quick. Like, how did it go from? It went from shit to and then there's like shit.
Yeah. I when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute. I thought for health reasons, he needed to not be involved. I mean,
Grandpa
it's clear.
drinking.
It's clear it wasn't all his fault when he was here.
Absolutely.
That's true. But he also didn't help improve. He didn't improve anything.
Nothing.
So
not a player.
No, nothing. Nothing got better with him. For him to be kind of like the tough, what is it? The tough guy, or the no nonsense or whatever. And then you hear what you hear about the team from people who have left. And I know that behavior didn't just happen this year. They couldn't have just like, Pedro's here, let's not do anything. I'm sure that was happening last year. So all of that, and then you bring him in to consult.
Yeah.
On what? On how to begin the downfall of a team?
Yeah. I think it might have been like the only thing I can think of is kind of like what we were talking about with parenting, where like, your parents could be tough on their children, but then when they become grandparents, then they turn into softies.
Yes.
So is that the case with La Russa?
Maybe.
Where he came in as a grandfather, but his tough days were behind him. Because it's a lot of work to be a disciplinarian.
It is. It's a lot of mental.
It's not just telling people to do the right thing. You have to make sure they're doing the right thing and find ways to encourage them to do the right thing and facilitate these grown millionaire men who do
at
the
this
right
point
thing.
Should know better.
Yeah.
Because there weren't enough extremely young people on the team when he got here to use that excuse that they're young. You remember how you were when you were young. But when I was young and had a job, I took my job seriously till I left home, till I left work.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. In your 20s, I don't think I was as responsible as I could have been at times.
Is it because of the male thing? They say the males take a little longer. Is that what it is?
That could definitely be it. I mean, when you're talking about guys who were in their early 20s, I mean, you look at them like there's these big brooding athletes, and so you think of them as like these men and strong men. Well, yeah, they're strong men, but they're even only a 23-year-old man is not completely matured yet.
Now, so those guys I could see, the really young ones, but there were also not so young ones.
Right, when you think about guys like Jose Abreu.
Yeah.
Who was a leadership a leading figure on this team. And you see how much worse it got after he left too.
That's true. He might have been like, even though he wasn't a vocal and all that, and some people said he really wasn't a leader per se, but maybe people like Eloy and others, if they saw that he didn't fall asleep or they saw he wasn't doing anything, they followed his lead. He didn't have to say anything, but maybe they didn't want to have that disappointed father look that maybe they would get from Abreu.
I believe that too.
Yeah, that's probably the type of leader he was. He didn't get in your face, he didn't say anything, but maybe he would give you that look.
Yeah.
And because he was such a large figure for them to look up to, because he was there, he had made it, he had been through the same thing as them, they didn't want to disappoint him. And they just didn't have that anymore because they didn't give a damn about Lance Lynn.
No.
They didn't give a damn about Pedro.
Or Tim.
Or Tim, like any of the people who have been there long. So I will take back what I said about they should know better. The really young ones, you can give them a pass, but it also sounds like maybe some of the not as young weren't that serious either.
Yeah, and we talk a whole lot about leadership or the lack of on this team, and then you go to the interview, the post-game interview with Eloy, and they ask him about, has there been a discussion about leadership? He's like, no. He's like, no, not really. It's just, I don't know. I don't understand why he caught so much flack for that. He was just being honest. And he said before, I'm not really a leader like that. And he isn't. He's big, smiley, hi, mom. And, that's unfortunate that he's kind of a man-child type of guy. But those guys need
they
need leadership. They need leadership.
Yeah, and maybe you thought it might be Tim Anderson, but now you see he's not. That's not his thing either.
And he's just got really, so much his own shit going on.
Right. And it's really hard. What they say is really hard for a pitcher to be the leader. Now, like, okay, John Lester, he would just probably cuss anybody out. So you weren't gonna mess with him. So like he was a pitcher that was a leader, but they always say it's pretty hard for
because he's not every day,
5 days, or whatever, and they're out there every day. And for Lance Lynn to do all this talking, do we know if he did anything in the clubhouse? Did he, while he's saying that guy, was this Kenyon, whatever the guy, he wasn't lying. Well, you as a veteran, you didn't.
Well, I took it as Kenyon was talking about him as well.
Yeah, he might have been. And he probably was. Yeah. Because, if you say, there were no lies or whatever, but okay, how old are you? You're just the guy who gets mad at an error or whatever like that.
Right. So it shows your teammate up constantly on the field. That's not a leader.
That's not a leader at all. And so your chance to have been a leader is when you heard that someone in the bullpen went to sleep. As a leader of the pitching staff, at least, you go out there and say, if another MF falls asleep in this bullpen, I'm gonna beat you with the bat. Like,
And we could only assume that was Gregory Santos because he was at the time the only rookie in the bullpen. So
maybe they got their sleeping from
LaRussa. Hey, baseball is a long game, and you're sitting out there in the heat for a long time, and I can imagine that you could. You
at least go in the clubhouse. At least, go in the clubhouse. But then here's another lack of leadership thing. What happens in that clubhouse, in that dugout, in the bullpen should stay in there. Like they don't even, keep your business to yourselves.
Yeah.
Work it out amongst yourselves. Don't let it get out there.
But I think there just never was a guy to bring it all together.
And with the length of time everyone had been there, Pedro needed to come with a team of rookies.
Yeah.
mold them into what he wanted them to be. And
yeah, he didn't come in. Yeah, he didn't have a hammer to yield to wield, I should say, to get this group in shape. You
he
know,
talked a good
if
game.
anybody, yeah, he did talk a good game in the beginning, but they all do, and I think that's how they get the job until they sit the seat and they see how difficult it is, and they get the chance to see who's on this team and who's not on this team, and you know, talk is cheap at the end of the day. It's about results, and we saw that with the firing of Rick and Kenny. You know, they just didn't get the job done. You know, it concerns me who they if Getz is going to get the seat. I kind of wonder why aren't they just going ahead and making the announcement? You know, wondering are they just floating that name to see the reaction to it? And I know it's been a negative reaction to it. So maybe, hopefully, they're listening and saying, okay, well, maybe we need to actually work at this, and you know,
at least put a call out to like see if anyone else is interested in your GM. You know, a lot of people have been saying, what about Theo? And he'll do a good job, and he'll deplete your minor leagues to get you a win. And then he'll leave when he sees that it's getting ready to go down.
Right.
That's what he did
in Boston and Chicago. I don't know. I'm not sure the White Sox is I'm not sure the White Sox is a marquee enough job to bring him out of retirement. You know, I know it's still Chicago, but it's not the Cubs.
And you guys, Sox won in 2005. So there's not that.
Breaking a 100-year-old curse.
Yeah, that's true. Because he broke a Red Sox curse and he broke that's true. Yeah, it's been since 2005. So
yeah, so I'm not sure this is. I mean, I would love to have him, you know, don't get me wrong, but I just don't see it. I just don't see him being interested in this job. And then working under Jerry Reinsdorf, I don't think I'm not sure that's
Antonio Russo.
Antonio Russo. Yeah, I don't think that's his style.
You know. If Jerry and all the Reinsdorfs come to him and say, "This is your show, all of it's yours, everything's yours. No one else has anything to say. You do what you want." He might consider it. I guess you at least have to reach out to him, and you have to reach out to anyone else who might be good. I don't know enough about any GM
executives.
Executives of like all I know about is the Chris Getz.
Right.
And
same.
And no one is really excited about that at all.
No.
Like he's not even anyone that other teams have like said, "Hey, we're taking a look at that Chris Getz."
Right.
I don't know,
because his work doesn't show anything that would make anybody interested in him. You know, if you look at the player development in the White Sox organization, well, that's what he's largely in charge of, and there hasn't been a whole lot. This isn't a guy who did player development in Tampa or St. Louis or LA, you know, because one of those guys is like, okay, let's take a look at this guy. It's the White Sox, for crying out loud. So,
and see, that's what I think the Sox should be doing. Is look, and maybe they are. You know, we're just assuming that they're not. And you said maybe
we're assuming they're doing all of the wrong things,
right? Because
they usually do.
We're going off the track record,
right?
But hopefully, we're all wrong, and what they're doing is they have all these people, they have all the information, and they know what teams have these great development. So, you know, people. They've developed, they have great farm systems, they have people who are ready to make that next step, and they have their eyes on them. Okay, it's fine if you want a new, fresh, but make sure it's someone coming from a successful program.
And that leads you back to like why Pedro Grifol from Kansas City.
Like what was
somebody from a losing organization? I mean, they won in, what was that, 15? Yeah,
Yeah.
15 they won, you know, but
Yeah,
that was
because
still,
what's
that
his
was 8 years ago.
and they have been
Terrible.
trash since.
They've been worse than the White Sox
Yes.
overall.
Yes. That is very true, Emilio. Why, if you
Why
want a
pick from them?
new,
Like, why
different
not Houston?
perspective, if you want a new perspective on a coach, why him? There were some other people out there. There were
Milwaukee.
some of the bench coaches, some base coaches.
Dear God. Willie Harris. I would have loved to interview Willie
Did
Harris.
they never even interviewed him?
No.
Mm.
Like, I would have loved for him to get a shot. You
Yeah, they
know,
could have
somebody
interviewed
who would
AJ
have had their respect of the players coming
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. They could have interviewed AJ. Is he interested in coaching ever?
I've heard rumors of it, but I would have been
He,
interested in that too.
yeah,
Just
he
like
couldn't have done much
I'm
worse.
AJ. I like the
Yeah,
surly
I know you
AJ.
like AJ, and you know I like him much better as an announcer than I did as a
Absolutely.
player.
And yeah, I mean, if
Yeah,
you weren't a White Sox fan, you
yeah.
didn't like AJ. Like, of course not.
But now when you hear him on the broadcast, I was like, oh, okay, he's not bad.
It's actually pretty
And
decent.
no one would have they wouldn't have been able to pull any of that stuff with AJ.
No.
So I'd reach out to him to see if he's interested in something.
And now we're only hoping that they're gonna get a new coach. I mean,
Yeah,
kind of
that's true.
remains to be seen. Like, you know, if you bring up a guy who's already in the organization,
But if you're not getting rid of most of the players, you got to bring someone else in new because you think he's going to be able to change it now.
right, it's too far gone.
Yeah, like unless you'd have to get rid of so many people. Now they probably, I'm sure they know who the problems are.
Right.
So if they let go of the problems, maybe he gets to stay. But if you're not letting go enough people, then he's got to go because they're just gonna go back to this.
This organization is rotten to the core. From the front office to player development to the guys playing in the clubhouse to the AAA system, like it all needed to be retooled. I mean, I'm
Rebuild.
being nice by saying retooled.
Yeah.
I mean, really burned to the ground and rebuilt.
You know, and you know how I can't stand rebuilds because we have to keep doing it in this city. Like it's like
many rebuilds
we get a rebuild right. And I'm being honest, when we get to the Cubs, I feel as though the Cubs are also lucky in the fact that they don't have to. They probably won't tear down again. But we'll get to that later. But
they were. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I think normally I would say retool. I guess they have to. You know what? I would have to see who they're letting go because I don't want to fool. I know you kind of need to tear down because the structure, the culture, is so messed up right now.
But I don't want to go back to 2016
no.
and 17 and 18, and those were some. I couldn't even watch. It was so bad.
And honestly, you're already at rock bottom, so there's no need to go further.
This good point.
Like you're here. So usually the rebuild or the turning the corner is once you've done the rock bottom. So you're there. So if you have a few pieces that are going to be ready to come up next year, if you can trade a few of the maybe considered bad apples, maybe not even bad apples, but you can get something for them and let them have a change of scenery. And then you can get a few more prospects or whatever, but you can't. They think they have a hard time having fans now. White Sox fans aren't going to go for 3-4 years.
I've never heard White Sox fans be so vocal about the state of the team as I have this year and last year. Like, I mean, it really is like, all right, we've had enough.
Yeah. Because even though it was supposed to be their window, They weren't good enough. So you've been in a rebuild ever since during this window, basically.
Yeah.
You've been going, you've had the same type of winning percentage and record, as if you're just trying to figure out your pieces and get people playing time until you're ready to make those moves with pitchers and all that kind of stuff to buy. But I hope they realize, now there's some who are like, yeah, they just got to tear and just start over. Okay, you're really gonna watch 3 years of bad?
No.
No one wants to watch. As a Cubs fan, I don't want to watch 3 years of Sox bad.
Plunk might turn into a Cubs only show, and that would be tragic. I hate to admit it, but it's like I do not want to sit and talk about a team that's in a rock bottom rebuild. There's nothing to talk about.
I mean, it's been rough right now for you and other Sox fans, and even me talking about them. Like, and believe me, we, even though we're in a wild card as Cubs fans, we feel the pain. We understand, because before,
absolutely,
just this year we were in the same boat. Like,
yeah,
we're not doing this anymore.
Mean, you guys were here last year and the year before,
and
and I remember how difficult it was. It was like, there might be some random guys that you talk.
And we were talking about Frank.
Right, that's right. We were talking about Frank Schwindel.
Yeah. Schwindy City. Like, we got excited when he hit some home runs, and he had a whole thing, Schwindy City.
And we were excited about Patrick Wisdom.
So
yeah, like, but you knew, like, these are not the guys that are gonna be,
because Wisdom seems like a nice guy, but no, they can't do that to the fan base. This is not Kansas City. This is not, they treat Pittsburgh like a little town, but this is not any of those little towns with the bad. No, this is the third largest market. You have loyal fans who want to come to your park. But if they're not going to keep coming for trash.
Yeah.
They can't punish you.
And then
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I forgot our timeline.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, because I was like, that was it, the firing. But no, then came Friday and there was a shooting inside the park.
I think it was outside though, right?
At first they were reporting it was inside the park. It was like, well, what cop shot somebody? Because how do you get in it with a gun?
Yes. So then it might have been right. I was like, oh my God, can anything get worse from the Sox? But then the craziest part, CPD told them about it and told them kind of to stop the game. Nope, we're gonna keep on playing.
Just
two women caught stray bullets.
Like, oh my God. Found casings at the gate.
See, and then like people were showing the video and no one moved. Like there was no like scattering. So that's why I was like, it couldn't have been inside, because you would have thought that it would have been the parting of the Red Sea in that section. And they said they didn't even realize at first. It was like, oh, what's that? And then they find casings.
Nick. Well, that's like, they say that often happens. Like you don't realize you've been shot.
Yeah, when it's a stray bullet.
Yeah.
If it doesn't hit you straight on, like if it's a stray bullet that grazes you, you just like, ouch. Ooh, what did I scratch myself?
Right. A bullet. You scratch yourself on a bullet.
Yeah.
And then they the 90s show. The 90s concert. Vanilla Ice and Rod Bass.
And people were so mad because they
came. The only reason they came to the game was for the 90s concert.
And at that point, no one knew. It was just like technical difficulties. Not someone got shot.
Shout out to the Superbat. Sean drove all the way from Orland just to see the concert and got there in the 8th inning, and it was canceled.
Yeah, that was this was a hell of a week for the White Sox organization.
Ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous.
And I'm sorry, things are all about timing. Now is not the time to talk about moving.
No, what was that?
You've been putting trash out there, and you're like, "Girl, we're gonna move."
Like for something that's up in like 6 years or something. It's like, dude. People have asked me, like, would I still be a Sox fan if they moved? I say no.
I heard that from a lot of people.
Like, I can't. I don't want to. I'm not into rooting for a team who's in a different city like that. I don't like other teams outside of Chicago in any sport, really. Like how people are like, yeah, my squad, the Dubs, and why not? And I mean, it's like that's not your team. That's in a different, that's in a different city.
You gotta stay up late to watch them.
I can't care about a team that is not in my city like that. And the Nashville White Sox rock on, but I would not. I would not care. I would not support that. Like that's for Nashville. They can have them if they left, you know.
And if they left, because MLB is talking about expansion again. If they did leave, MLB will probably put another team here.
Yeah, because you still have room and a market for it.
Yep. And White Sox fans aren't going to become. Most aren't going to become Cubs
fans. Like I'll still support the Cubs, especially in a playoff team, Cubs team, just like I do now. But it'll never be the same.
Right. You're not gonna be like, let me
I can never like have my heart in it the way it would be with the Sox.
No.
I mean,
no,
of course not.
I mean, it would be like that for me at the Cubs.
Yeah, of course. You're like, okay, I kind of follow the Sox, but like, you know, once you bleed your Cubby blue, that's it. It ain't no like, all right, I gotta flip over.
Like, Cubs. You're not gonna put a
no, never. No, I can't do it, Tony.
No,
I can't go. I mean, again, I root for the Cubs except when they play the Sox. Like I'm all about Chicago. So I would continue to support them. Like, sure, I'll go to a game, but
it's not going to be the same.
But it's not going to be the same. I'm not going to flip and be in a Cubs jersey and like, it's just
you're not going to feel the attachment to them and all that. Like, even though you know who Cubs players are, I know who the Sox are.
Yeah, I'd be getting the side eye because all my Cubs fans, friends, and family be like, yeah, all right, welcome over, but we know you're an imposter.
Right. Yeah, you're not going to put a C on that black cap you're wearing.
No.
Or the little Cub.
I mean, yeah.
And nor should you. And there's no reason. I didn't read into it. I don't know why he wants to move, but didn't he threaten this once before moving to Tampa Bay?
Yeah, it was. Remember they were going to move to Sarasota.
The
Sarasota Sox back in before. That was when he was threatening, trying to get a new stadium built, and then they wound up getting the stadium deal done, and they stayed. So I don't know. Maybe he's like lobbying for a new stadium or something. I don't know what he's doing.
But get a team before you start updating it. And
get a team that we care about before you start talking about doing anything.
Stands will fill up if it's fun. That's like my
yeah.
It's not gonna happen.
It's just not gonna happen.
And why? I don't know why anyone would ever want to move a baseball team to Florida. No one goes to those two Florida teams now.
As is, they do not.
Even
when they're winning, and even when they're good, even when Tampa is a strong organization too, stays in the mix in a very difficult division.
Yes, and it is empty. Like remember. The Marlins, their stadium was always empty until they went to the World Series.
Right.
So there weren't really fans there.
They weren't really fans. It was just like, the World Series.
Yeah.
We can get tickets because nobody cares.
But it's so like, why you would ever want to move to Florida? The weather, but you're not going to get support.
No.
You're not going to get more support there than you get here.
No. I mean, you don't get a ton of people at your games as is because you're trash all of the time.
You can't keep feeding White Sox fans trash. Yeah. They're not going to come because the guarantee rate field is a great. The lights, the noise, the sounds, everything is great about that place.
It's a nice park.
But it is not an attraction. I can't even think of the word I'm trying to say. A tourist attraction like Wrigley Field.
I think no, it isn't, and still has a lot to do with the location. I think.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Even though the projects and all that is down, but still, because it's on the south side.
The dreaded south side.
Yes. But so saying that, like when the Cubs are bad and people are still coming, that's because people planned some vacations in Chicago and they just wanted to get the ticket. It's not real diehard fans. No, that's why they lost. That's why the attendance was down so bad those down years. So since the Sox aren't the tourist attraction, and it is like usually they're true fans going there, you can't feed them trash because no, they're not going to come. They're not going to keep supporting you and you're disrespecting their fandom.
Yeah. I am like, this is the shittiest it's been, and I can't even remember something like this shitty of a team. And just everything that's happened this week, how ridiculous it is. It's just like, you couldn't even write it better than this. Like the movie Major League, they should redo it. I'm usually against relaunching franchises, but they could do it with this White Sox team.
That is true. Like, and it's so bad because they weren't supposed to be bad.
Yeah, that makes it much worse.
You know, if you're watching a bunch of minor leaguers and, you know, almost has-beens, can't stick on the team players lose, well, okay, that's expected.
Yeah.
But when you're seeing all-star, close to all-star, former all-star, batting champs, 5-2 players, in the Cy Young conversation at one point, when you're seeing those players not do well, that's what makes it
sad. It's such an organizational failure.
Yeah.
It truly is.
I remember when we had Superback on the show, and it was, I forgot how long ago it was, and we were talking about because the Cubs window had closed. Mm-hmm. And I had asked about, the Sox, shouldn't they? And it was like, oh no, their window's gonna be open for a while, and they got this and that, and it closed.
It closed.
It did not last 5 years.
Closed on our fingers.
Yeah. And I don't know, these windows for teams in Chicago just aren't working.
No.
They closed 3 years early each time with each team.
Failure.
Yeah, it's like, they got a 5-7 year window and it's shut after 2. Yeah. Every time we say we have a 5 to 7 year window.
And, you just, in a 5-year window, you're not thinking they're going to win it all 5 times, but you hope they can win it twice and compete the other years. You know what I mean?
Get there a second time.
Even if they only win it once, get there a second time.
You got there twice.
Yeah.
And you were always in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Whether it's wild card division.
You're always in the middle.
For 5 years. Yes, you're right.
That should be the window. That's a realistic winning window.
Because then by the 5th year, after you've made the playoffs, okay, your 25-year-olds are 30.
Right.
Your 28-year-olds in the beginning are now 32. So everyone's aging out.
Right.
And hopefully if you were a smart organization, every year, like I always said, the Cubs waited too long to trade Schwarber, and they waited too long to trade Addison Russell before everything happened with him. I thought they should have been traded after the World Series. Their stock was very high. You had people who could take their position.
You had Javi already, who could have taken over, who wound up taking over anyway.
Exactly. Their stock was really high, so you could have been bringing in the minor leaguers to start replenishing so that they would be ready to come up by the next 5-year window.
Right. When your guys are aging out.
But they didn't do that, and that's one of the failures I blame on Theo Epstein.
Yeah, you think you'd have a longer run with the
and then Tony, that's one of the, to me, what I just said is one of the reasons why they didn't, because they held on to some players too long. Of course, you were going to keep Bryant, Javi, and Rizzo. You're going to keep them for that 5-year window, but there were some other pieces that could have brought back quality minor leaguers that you could possibly flipped in another year to bring in that missing piece to continue that 5-year window. And then by the end of the window, now all those pieces that were in the minor leagues are ready to come up. And then you've also replenished with more minor leaguers. So now you can go and buy the new missing pieces. And I know it's
like, I think about what happens if the Cubs didn't make the Jose Quintana deal and Dylan Cease and Eloy wind up coming up.
Way different.
You know, you're looking at a way, you know, Eloy, you might have been looking at the same Eloy, but having Dylan Cease come up through there would have been game changing.
Especially because Eloy would have been good since the DH came in. Like, we would have been like, woo, he's roughing that outfield like Kyle Schwarber. But the DH came in, so at least he could have been there.
And who knows? Maybe with a different strength and conditioning team, maybe he's not even injured, you know, as much.
Yeah, and then Dylan Cease definitely, once it was time for John Lester to leave, well, okay, you still have Dylan Cease as your anchor. I think they could have prolonged the sell-off. I'm not saying they would have won another World Series, but the competitiveness, always going to the playoffs, I think that could have continued.
Yeah. Longer, and it should have went longer than it did.
And then even with the sell-off pieces, they could have been like what I was saying with Addison, one at a time, maybe. Like, okay, I think we're getting close to you, Rizzo. We're going to now try to flip you for some pieces.
Right. Instead of the whole, all three of those guys in one season.
Yes. And then by the time they let go of Rizzo, Javi, Bryant still got good stuff. He got the PCA, I believe. Or maybe Javi did. Somebody did.
Okay.
But Rizzo, by the time they were letting him go, he was going down. So now by the time they were selling him off.
Now.
Yeah. By the time they started selling them off, they didn't get what they could have.
Yeah, because they were past.
Yes.
They waited a little too long.
Yeah. So,
you know, and then did it all at the same time.
And so it was like the white flag and
but
I hope that the White Sox, I just don't have much faith, but I hope that they do this right. They started out well with those trades and what they got back for, like, Lucas, etc.
Yeah.
That's okay. I just don't trust them the rest of the way.
Yeah, I don't trust them to pick the right guy to sit the seat, because already you went from Jerry Reinsdorf saying he's going to hire one singular voice, which you would think means one person, versus kind of the two-headed monster thing. And then all of a sudden you hear Chris Getz and his partner, his father figure, coming in with him. And so what happened to the one singular voice, you know?
Right.
And you get mixed signals. It's like there's no transparency.
And we all saw that having that two-headed monster with Williams and Rick Hahn messed up so much. Because Rick Hahn, if he would have let Rick Hahn make his hire, who knows what would have happened if it wasn't
in the first place.
Who knows?
Not at the Pedro hire, but
the first one before they brought Tony, when they just cut out Rick Hahn.
Then you had Jerry Reinsdorf come in and just hijack.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
The whole
it wasn't Kenny. It was And who, I forgot who he wanted, but who he wanted was a hell of a lot better than Tony La Russa. It was a popular guy, right?
I think it was AJ Hinch.
Thank you. That's who it was.
Yeah.
And who knows what could have happened with this team and the core that is now in shambles.
Had they had the right guy at the right time.
Yep.
But it's just too little too late now.
Yeah. And it's a shame. It's a shame that their decisions, like or Jerry Reinsdorf's decision was strictly emotional.
Yeah, it's friendship.
And it was not a business. You could have brought Tony in as a consultant.
Long time ago,
bring him in back in the organization.
You didn't have to give him an ill-fitting uniform and
no,
sitting there with his pants off doing interviews. Like, man.
Yeah, so that's why most people don't trust that they're going to do right. And then you hear the stories of Kenny Williams jumping in and making trades and
vetoing trades and and I mean, we also have a taste of seeing how Jerry Reinsdorf runs the Chicago Bulls. You know, as people know, Jerry Reinsdorf owns both teams, and we see what kind of shit show you got going on over there. Like, he doesn't appear to quite successfully replace Garpax somehow.
Nope. It's almost it's them again.
It's them again.
Like, we got rid of this. And then they came in. It's like, oh, okay, because they came in doing the DeMar DeRozan.
Right.
Right. You know, and then they did the Lonzo. Like, they did all this stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then
but and you know, I really think that Lonzo Ball injury really derailed that whole thing.
It did. That's true.
It really.
They were the number one team in the East.
Like,
they were unstoppable with him.
Yeah, like it really derailed that whole thing, and
it's a shame.
And it's a shame because I mean, and then we saw, I mean, how Derrick Rose's injury derailed that whole thing.
Because that team eventually was going to win a championship.
Yes.
They were eventually going to win one.
They would have taken one that Miami got.
Right. Yep. They would have gotten one. I know a lot of people say they won't. No, they would.
No, they would have beaten Miami one of those years because as long as they'd improved, as long as they'd replaced Keith Bogans.
Yeah.
They would have gotten. They wouldn't have gotten a championship.
Oh yeah.
One of those years, or they would have at least gotten to the finals.
Yeah, they would have beaten. They would have beaten the Heat to get to the finals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That year that he got hurt, because Derek was playing at a different level.
He was out of his mind playing. Yeah. And they had Rip Hamilton. Rip was past his prime, but they were a better team.
Yep.
Let's say
everything went so much better that year.
Yeah.
So they like this. I don't know why we're cursed with point guards, but
Jay Williams.
Yeah.
You know.
Like, and when you see, the Lonzo Ball, but then after a while, you can't keep. As the management, we as fans can keep lamenting that. And I'm like, oh, but as management, you're going to have to make a move.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not Goran Dragic
and Patrick Beverly.
Yeah.
Which was fun, but
it was fun for a minute. But then it's like,
let's talk about a winning team.
Oh, okay. Because I was about to go off on that again.
I know. We're talking about Jerry's boys, Jerry Reinsdorf and his band of underachievers in the MLB and the NBA. Let's talk some Cubs baseball.
Okay.
I know this is what some people have been waiting for. Let's talk some Cubs. Cubs are winning games.
They are.
Even when they struggle with some pitching woes, they pulling out the close games.
Mm-hmm.
They're beating all the teams they're supposed to beat. Tell me, tell me about their pitching. Do you think that they have enough pitching for a formidable playoff run? I'm not going to say go all the way, but a formidable playoff run. Do they have enough pitching? Because I think, is that the question? Would you think?
That's the biggest. That's the biggest question mark. They have a closer. They have a setup man. They have an ace. Assad is playing well.
Mm-hmm.
Wicks, is it Wicks or Wick? Wicks, I think. He had a very good first outing. They need Stroman.
Mm-hmm.
They can't without him. Although any team that makes a run, you need that person to play beyond their numbers, which
kind of
Strowman was actually doing this year.
Right.
So could that be Assad?
Mm-hmm.
Could he be the pitcher that's doing more? I know Hendricks still has been having quality starts, but I just worry.
Yeah.
I worry about him. And if you don't have Strowman, you gotta have him.
Mm-hmm.
He has to be the professor because the other guys are all question marks. Tyon, it's amazing that we've been winning his games lately.
Yeah, he
amazes me. But the Cubs have been winning when he pitches.
That's what I'm saying. They're finding a way to do it. You know,
the problem is right now they're beating teams they're supposed to beat.
Right.
In the playoffs, they'll be facing more formidable opponents. So
everything is different in the playoffs.
Yes. So while Tyon, Assad, Wicks, yeah, that's it. Those are the three. While they're doing well now,
mm-hmm.
will they do well when they're facing better teams? Now, this coming week, the next 3 games are a good test.
Who do they have the next 3 games? Who got the Brewers?
Yeah, they start the Brewers Monday.
Okay. And this is a big series now.
Yeah. This is a big series because they're 4 games behind them.
Mm-hmm.
So depending how they do, they could get closer in the division.
Mm-hmm.
But so it's Tyon's tomorrow. So I guess I'll get to see tomorrow how Tyon will do against a better team.
My concern is I hope that they're not like peaking too early.
Yes.
You know how it is in baseball with ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
It's the team who gets hot. Not necessarily the best team all year,
right.
but the team who gets hot at the right time in the playoffs. Like even going back to that 05 Sox team, they weren't necessarily the best team in the league all year, but they got hot right at the playoffs and burned right through them,
Because I remember like at one point, because they had such a large lead, right, that year. And then they kind of fell off and were a little
fell off.
Bad.
They had a really bad September.
Like, what is this? But then all of a sudden, they were just unbeatable. Yep. What did they win? What did they lose? 1 game?
1 game. The guys were pitching complete games. I mean, they just got hot, and guys were pitching out of their mind. They're going beyond their numbers, like you said. Like, I mean, even when you look at what Jake Arrieta did those 2 years for the Cubs was just like out of his mind. Like
because he never did that again.
Never did that again. Not even close. Yeah.
Like John Lester was who John Lester was all the time,
and was for that guy for years. Like he was an iron horse.
Was good in the World Series because I remember Kyle Hendricks couldn't pitch well past 4 innings.
Yeah, he was like the 5th guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was like every game he pitched, come the 4th and the 5th inning, he was terrible.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, he was going into the 7th.
Got hot at the right
time. So like you had those 3, Arrieta, Lester, and Hendricks pitching out of their mind. Right now, I guess the person who's pitching well beyond what you expect is Assad.
Yeah.
He was thrown in there because of an injury. Smiley, I don't ever need to see Wisniewski, whatever. He was a spot starter. Now he's in the bullpen, and he's just not good. I'm interested to see Wicks next outing. But I don't. Do they have enough pitching? I think they have 3 good enough. But if a game goes to the 4th game, that's a problem. If you had, and Strowman had struggles, so it's not like he's a guarantee, but you trust it more. If you had Strowman then you'd had 4.
Well, you're definitely a better team going into the playoffs with Strowman than
Right.
without it.
But, I guess you got to plan without him. So I think the third game would be Assad, and they would have somebody ready at the hint of trouble. So it's almost like that third game could be pitched by committee, depending on how far Assad can go. Because he's basically, I don't count, I just have zero trust in Tyon. I have more trust on the side.
Right.
But right now, it really would be Steele, Hendricks, Tyon, then Assad.
All right. Well, this is going to be interesting last September of baseball coming up. The first is Tuesday?
Yeah, it is.
Wednesday? Tuesday or Wednesday?
Second. First is Friday.
Oh, really? Damn.
This coming weekend's Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, that's right.
Woohoo, 3-day weekend. Before we go, I'd like to say that Seiya is on fire.
Seiya. Fire.
There you go. Someone's
trying
to
make that
shirt. You better trademark that.
Fire.
Yeah, that was that obvious shirts, that company that does all
yeah.
It's just gonna say Seiya and the fire emoji.
Fire. Right.
So I always liked him. So I'm glad that he's doing well. Bellinger is Bellingering. I don't understand why Hap's still batting third, but whatever. That has to be like a kind of like how they would move Tim Anderson down.
Right.
That's your guy.
Right. He's a guy. He's an anchor.
Yeah.
You're still keeping faith in him.
Right.
Yeah, he's been here. He's been here for a while now.
That has to be why they're doing it, because it's not now. Before anyone says, yeah, but he won those games. Yes, he did. He did. He had a good game. But overall, he's talking about trash. He's been trash in that third spot. And they'll move everybody else down to get them right. And it seems to be moving the Cub down to the 7th, 8th spot seems to get them right. They move Seiya down there. He's gotten right. They've moved Morel down there to try to get him right. But I know they'll probably feel that it's an insult to move Hap down that far.
Yeah.
But isn't the third... Yeah, the third spot's supposed to be your best hitter, and he's not.
Yeah.
And he's bad, and he's being protected by Bellinger.
Absolutely. And we hope Belly stays hot.
Yeah. They go nowhere if he doesn't stay hot.
Yeah, he absolutely.
He's the key.
Because you saw where they were going when he was out.
Right. Yeah.
Nowhere.
They don't win the wild card. They go nowhere if Bellinger's not hot. He is the key to that team's success.
Absolutely.
And then everyone just follow his lead. Like Seiya's, like you just mentioned, you hope Seiya's not peaking at the wrong time. I mean, it's the right time, but you hope it carries.
You hope it carries over into October.
You hope Tachman can
remain doing what he's doing.
Horner,
spectacular in the outfield and all of that.
Yes, he does. He makes very good plays. But they go nowhere if Bellinger's bad.
Yeah. Resign that man.
Man, that could fill your black hole at first base.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see what happens. And hey, go Cubs. What can I say?
Go Sox.
Go somewhere, Sox.
Go home, Sox. No. Get better, Sox. That's how I'm going to root for you. Get better, Sox.
Do better, Sox.
Do better. Be better.
Yes. Look better. Everything.
Like, give a little joy to end the year, Sox. Give your fans a little piece of something.
Yeah, I mean, I still watch, and I particularly still watch to see Luis Robert Jr.
Yeah, shining light.
Yeah, he's a really good player. Really turning out to be a really good ball player. Like he's really being the player that we thought he was going to be.
Yeah, he is living up to
expectations, and it's he's been healthy.
Yeah, that's the key.
That's been the key. He's been healthy this year, so like
he's an enjoyable player to watch. So I'm glad he's healthy.
He is absolutely. So we'll just keep it there, and but every day it's always go Chicago.
Woohoo!
Whoever it is, north side, south side, east side, west side, all over. It's always about Chicago on this show. And with that being said, thank everybody for tuning in. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to Deb, our number one plunkster. And we'll keep this thing going on at least through the end of the baseball season. This is Plunk, the show where we celebrate 2 teams, 1 city. I am Emilio Bucks.
I am Kristen Fertit.
And we will catch you all on the next one. Peace.
Bye.
This has been a Chicago Clubhouse Network production.